We'll start, and we're 3 games in, so we're desperately trying not to make it another overreaction Monday. But do you...
in the overreaction club.
But in the overreaction club, do you think there's something wrong at Tottenham, Chris?
It's too early to judge, isn't it? I think that, after the result against Newcastle and the loss, it was inevitable there'd be questions after what Pochettino said in the Champions League, after the Champions League final, about whether his heart is still in it. I think that's a little bit unfair. What I would say, I think he's been backed in the transfer market this summer. Clearly, he's been backed, but many more results like that, and the questions will continue. I don't think that Spurs are necessarily, an unsettled club, but he certainly needs a result or two. I mean, the Erikssons situation is it's a bit of a mess, really. And I was speaking to Wright before about this. I mean, should he have started him? I mean, there's a strong argument that he should have started him. But then if he's thinking long term about the team and he thinks that Eriksson is away, then I understand why he didn't start.
Why didn't he start Lo Celso then? Because he's the other creative player. They needed creativity in that midfield. You know something? When we're saying, like Chris said there, it's too early to judge. I'm not sure, simply because it's kind of going on with Tottenham. We know that this is happening with Tottenham. There's players unsettled for whatever reason. We know that Danny Rose has been unsettled. We obviously know all the while. We know now that Eriksson, is he leaving? Isn't he leaving? The same problems that they're having, they kind of continue to have. So because it's 3 games in, people saying, it's too early to judge. But there seems to be something's not quite right. He himself has said, like you just mentioned.
Yeah, but they've drawn away at Manchester.
It's the most unsettled squad he's had.
They've drawn away at Manchester City, which you'd say is a good result. They deserve to beat Villa. 4 games ago, they were playing in a Champions League final. He's been backed in the market, so it is too early really to dive in.
But if we really do, we're not diving in. But I'm saying when you look at the stats of the City game and the Tottenham game. City
to be expected.
Very comfortable in that game, and in the end, obviously, we saw with the handball. But we're talking about a Tottenham side.
But you'd still say it's good character to get a result.
Great character, and I remember saying that. But what I'm saying is that there is something wrong in what's going on at Spurs at the moment.
The other thing that supports Wrighty's point is that this kind of problem in the lead has been going on since February for Spurs. So this is awful. I think I might have to apologise to Chris.
Go on,
right.
So 2 weeks ago, you weren't here, chappers. You were still sunning yourself on your private island, and Chris and
I'm kind of wishing I was back there, to be honest, after 12 minutes of this.
So are we.
Do the apology, because I've got you on the television, Rory. I want to get a picture of it.
So Chris and I had a slight sort of tete-a-tete about, I think Spurs were the 3rd best team in the Premier League last year and tailed off after February because I think their focus drifted a little bit towards Europe. Chris denied that completely. But if you look at the results, Spurs have been awful in the league since February. I think they've got 15 points from 15 games, which is not very good at all. It's relegation form.
Just to highlight some of those defeats. So they lost at Burnley on the 23rd of February, which was 10 days after their first leg win at home to Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League. They then lost at Chelsea. They drew at home with Arsenal. They went to Dortmund and won, but then they lost at Southampton. They lost at Liverpool. They beat Palace. They beat Manchester City in the Champions League. They thrashed Huddersfield. They then had that Champions League defeat at Manchester City, but it was a win, obviously, and then lost in the Premier League at City the Saturday afterwards. They scraped a 1-0 win at home to Brighton. They were beaten by West Ham. They were beaten by Ajax. They were beaten by Bournemouth. They got the win in Ajax in the second leg, and then they drew with Everton before the Champions League final.
So I think if you take that run of form, each individual result you can probably explain to some extent. You can say, there was fatigue after the Champions League, or they maybe rested players, or this is what Chris and I talked about, and I now accept that he was entirely right. Was that I kind of think that when you've got a big game coming round the corner, players might just in the back of their minds just not quite go in fully for the tackle. Or they might not make that extra sprint, and I think that you can go through that Spurs run of form and say each individual game is probably explicable, but when you look at them all together, you have to say there's a pattern, and the pattern is that Spurs have not been very good for about 6 months.
His quotes afterwards, Pochettino's, were... I mean, you could either say they were honest or you could say they were negative, depending on your point of view. He talked about a mess at his club. Mm-hmm. He said that they were unsettled. This is my 6th season and the most unsettled group we are working with. That's why we are relaxed and calm. Some situations we cannot fix. Nothing to say about that. Situations that are going on in the squad, and still we need to wait. I mean, it's a remarkably honest. Surely the future of one man doesn't make the squad unsettled, does it? Or is it more than what? Is it more than Eriksson?
I think that Eriksson, if I was in the Spurs squad and Eriksson wants to leave, I wouldn't be happy with it. I'd be quite disappointed that someone like him's leaving. I know Lo Celso's coming in, and you hope that he can replicate, but you don't really want to see the good players leaving. This is the problem I've got with Spurs at the moment. You don't know where this is going to end. I know it's the same with Danny Rose. He's been trying to leave for a while. I don't know what's happened in respect of him leaving. And we know it's the same with Toby Alderweireld. What he's not gone. Eriksson's gone. I think that we're seeing something now at Spurs where we've heard over the years with the incremental rises in pay, but they're still way behind everybody. And Spurs fans might be saying, here we go again with the pay structure. But the fact is, I think that because those players, they've now tasted the Champions League, they know that they can go elsewhere and maybe get that kind of money. I think we're going to see more Spurs players maybe taking the option that Eriksson's taking now, and Spurs are going to be in a position, obviously, with the stadium, and you've got the top player who wants to leave, and they have to get something for him. Sorry at Arsenal, and you're kind of seeing a pattern here with Tottenham where I think that may happen in the future for Spurs.
What can he gain though by saying that?
Who?
Pochettino, by saying that they're unsettled. I just don't understand why he's 3 games in. He's been, last.
But this is why it doesn't make no difference. It's 3 games. He means from before.
Last summer was we need players in. This summer he's brought players in, players who he wanted in. So why say it? What can be gained?
I guess the only thing could be that he wants a resolution to the Eriksson situation sooner rather than later. That's the only thing he can be getting at, really.
We're on 85058 at 5 Live Sport, MNC at bbc.co.uk. Anson, get Jan and Christian back on board and we will turn the corner. Mm-hmm. Ben, Harry Kane, I said it last week, I say it again. Where is he? In capital letters.
I mean, where is he? He needs service. You've got a Newcastle side with 2 banks of 4, no Eriksson on the pitch, no real creativity. What's Harry Kane supposed to do? We saw it happen against Villa. Once he came on, he got 2 chances, scored 2 goals. You're talking about where's Harry Kane? He's there ready to score goals if they get the ball to him.
They do have a problem, Spurs, breaking down really defensive teams at home. That's been one of the hallmarks of this bad run, is that they can't... Whereas City always find a way through. City they'll score 3 in the first 20 minutes and kill the game. Liverpool, as we saw against Arsenal, which we'll come on to, find a way through eventually. Spurs seem to kind of struggle a little bit to break down teams that basically just go and say, right, here we are, see if you can pick a way through. I'm slightly baffled... I'm baffled by quite a lot of things with Spurs. I don't really get why Eriksson wants to leave, if I'm honest. They were in a Champions League final.
He might want to win a trophy.
He might want to win a trophy, Chris. But would you want to win a trophy if you had Real Madrid and Juventus and potentially other people saying, listen, Christian, we'll sign you, but only if these better players don't become available first? That doesn't seem to me like the sort of thing that would make me leave a club that's been in the Champions League final, that's consistently challenging for the top 4.
He might believe in himself.
But why not believe in yourself at Spurs? Surely Spurs is a good place to be now.
Because when was the last time Spurs won a trophy?
Yeah, but
they were 90 minutes from the biggest
did
trophy.
They win it?
No, but that shows they are capable of getting
and
that.
Are Juventus and Real Madrid more likely to win a trophy?
They are almost certain to win it.
Well,
certainly Juve.
That's why he wants to go.
Yeah, but then he could go there and he might not get a game. He might not play in it.
Yeah, but he might.
But also they don't really want him, Chris.
Yeah, but he will be at Tottenham, where Spurs can bring other players, and he can be one of the catalysts to help them to do that.
It's slightly odd as well that the idea.
I think it comes out of money. I don't care, Rory.
I think you must be right, Wrighty, or maybe perhaps just a change of scenery, which is probably fair enough. He's been there for a long time.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to change scenery and be a
reserve. No, exactly.
Yeah, but we don't know that.
But what other logic can there be?
Chris, what do you mean we don't know that? He would have been their first choice for people. He would have been gone by now.
If he was first choice on Real Madrid's list, he would have been sold earlier this summer.
He'd be there.
I don't actually buy that. He might think he's that good. He might have that much belief in himself.
I'm giving it to you.
He's going to go there and he wants to win a trophy.
Yeah, but I'm not even selling it. I'm giving it to you. You don't have to buy it. The fact is that he's not their A+ guy. He's a B.
Yeah, but he's saying, I'm going to go there and I'm going to prove I'm the A-class guy.
Which is good. That's good for him.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, but it's better.
He might get a little bit more money.
Yeah, but it's better for him, Chris, if he's going for nothing.
Yeah, but
all of a sudden, because it's a lot of money.
Why should he stay at Tottenham, though, if he doesn't believe he can win a trophy? And let's get it right. Tottenham are miles behind Liverpool and Manchester City. Do you think Tottenham can win a title this season?
No,
Premier League title?
They won't win the title.
They're in a different league.
Yeah, but the thing is, we've seen Alan sell Tottenham. There's a lot going on behind the scenes now. Talking about trying to win a title, they're doing well to stay where they're going to stay this season.
So does that help then if the manager's coming out and saying, well, we're all a bit unsettled? Why would you want to stay?
Yeah, well, the thing with the manager is he's mentioned he's 6 years. Like, 6 years. That's stuck in my head for some reason, because why is he mentioning the time? He says he wants to stay to make sure they get... Why are you mentioning how long you've been here? That's the kind of things that I think about when I look at the quotes and stuff.
Panny says, remember what we have, Spurs. Sure, it hurts to lose, especially when we play poorly, but be careful what you wish for. This is Pochettino's Spurs. He's turned the club around. I've no doubt we'll be back on track soon. Callum, I'm definitely not a Poch out. I don't know.
I don't think it would be Poch out.
It would be absurd to be Poch out.
But I do know this run cannot go on. Something is wrong. It needs addressing.
God.
Starting Sunday, a must-win game for many reasons. Now, I'm told a couple of weeks ago, when I wasn't on a private island, but a couple of weeks ago when I wasn't here, that you said Spurs have finished second.
Yeah.
Spurs are my tip to finish second at the start of the season, yeah.
Instead of...
Do you want to reevaluate
that? Liverpool. Well, I mean, it's a bit cowardly to do that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
but
at the same,
you can be a coward.
But at the same time, Chris, I reserve the right to change my mind as the information changes, like a sensible, rational adult. So maybe I will.
But this is why I don't like when people want predictions off of people.
Quite right too, right.
Before 5-10 games.
And then the fact that you're not a clairvoyant is held against you. You can't even see the future.
If Spurs were in second, you'd be crowing.
I never crow. I never crow, Chris. Can I
just ask one other thing, just on an argument or a statement suiting a manager's narrative, and that is Pochettino saying Lo Celso is, what was it, weeks away, miles away, whatever it was, as whether he could replace Erikssons. Well, he played a full season for Betis. He was in the Copa America for Argentina. Yeah. Where does the miles away come from? Because he's an international footballer. He can't.
Well, famously, Spanish clubs
6 weeks on the pop.
Well, Spanish clubs in pre-season don't run around. Famously, everyone knows that they just sort of stand around. They kind of say it's all done. They don't do it all tomorrow. No, he won't. That is Pochettino. Maybe not twisting the information. It's a slight contortion to suit his agenda. I would also say that I'm very, 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 very much pro Pochettino, but you would say that what the quotes look like a little bit is a manager getting his rebuttal in first, wouldn't you? It's not excuse making quite, but it's maybe just sort of saying, right, don't expect too much. But at least for Spurs, look, if you're going to lose a game embarrassingly at home to Newcastle, do it immediately after the greatest Test match of all time, because nobody is paying attention.
And we haven't mentioned Newcastle once, which we should, because last Monday Chris did an impassioned defence of Steve Bruce. So we will talk Newcastle in a little while.